Good morning, brothers. This is Dr. James Bullard, Eastern Province historian, with another session of Golden Insights. I'm here this morning with Brother John Gravely. And Brother Gravely is from Alexander Fairfax, and we'll find out later as a charter member, and we'll talk about that. But as we begin most of these sessions, Brother Gravely, would you talk to us about where you were made and why you went to that school?
Yes, I was initiated at the TAR chapter, West Virginia State College, now West Virginia State University, on my birthday, December 3rd, 1960. And of course, I was in West Virginia at that particular time, living with my grandparents, at which time I'd had an opportunity to be one of the we won't call it a test case, but one of the persons that helped to desegregate a school in West Virginia right after Brown versus Board of Education. Four of us that did that. So that was sort of my first journey into civil rights. And then I went on to, from that high school to West Virginia State College, mainly because the tuition was cheap.
Okay.
Couldn't afford to go anywhere else. That was what was available, so that's where I had to go. My father was a school teacher in Cincinnati, Ohio, and a great classicist in Shakespeare and those sort of things. So, so I went to school there, and the reason I went Kappa was really very interesting because I didn't know my father was a Kappa until after I became a Kappa.
Really?
I was my freshman year. We had just beat Morgan State 7-6, and everybody was celebrating. And I heard all these beautiful voices coming out of this circle. I said, well, "I'm gonna go out there and sing with these guys." So I go out in the circle, and they're singing all the hymns. Bring out the diamond, bring one for you and for me. And so everybody thought that I was a Kappa. And so 3 or 4 days later, I'm in the dormitory, and these guys come up and say, "Weren't you in the Kappa circle?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Well, are you a Kappa?" I said, "No." So they said, "Well, what were you doing in the circle?" I had to think fast. So I said, "Well, I heard all of that melodious music emanating from that wonderful circle, and I knew that this was a group that I wanted to be a part of."
Which is true.
Which was the truth. So eventually, that's of course what I did, and graduated in 1962. Went to the Army as an officer, commissioned officer, for almost 4 years. And then when I got out of the service, somebody told me about the State Department. And I went up and had an interview with a person by the name of Eddie Williams, who eventually became the head of the Joint Center for Political Studies, and became a part of the Foreign Service at that point. And I actually spent most of my time at Washington.
So I can imagine, were you also a trailblazer? I can't imagine there were a huge number of people in the Foreign Service.
Not at that particular time. In fact, the reason that Eddie Williams was there was because of that. That's why he was there to help bring African Americans into the Foreign Service, because there were not that many people in the Foreign Service at that time of color. So that's where I got my career started with the State Department. Wound up spending most of my time in D.C. and a lot of senior policy jobs. Had the opportunity to be involved in some very serious issues, along with then Ambassador Perkins now, but we were junior officers back in those days.
Okay.
But we had an opportunity to work together on some very key foreign policy issues. We helped to write the human rights policy for that time, and to help establish the Human Rights Office in the State Department, which some of that is still in place right now.
Exactly.
And we were involved in also some efforts with Henry Kissinger, Secretary Henry Kissinger, Secretary Cyrus Vance, Secretary Lawrence Eagleburger, in helping to diversify the State Department, and got a lot of things done during that particular period. Then, of course, Ed Perkins then went on to become ambassador to South Africa and to the United Nations and several other places. So,
and eventually Laurel
Reed Award in our fraternity. By the way, which, you know, it was me, another charter member of Alexandria Fairfax, Harold Amica, and another charter member of Alexandria Fairfax, Herman Fitzgerald, who recommended Kappa Alpha Psi to Brother Perkins. So he became a member of the Alexandria Fairfax chapter in 1978.
Outstanding. So now that you've talked about Alexandria Fairfax, talk about the chartering of Alexandria Fairfax and any role you may have had or any thoughts you have had about the chartering of Alexandria Fairfax in 1976.
Well, Roosevelt Phillips was the person who really got it started. And we got started in a school over in Alexandria. I can't remember exactly how many there were at that particular time, because quite a few of us got together and decided that there should be a chapter in Northern Virginia, because there was nothing in Northern Virginia at that particular time. And most of the people who were in the area would go with join the Washington Alumni chapter. And I actually lived in Washington, but we thought this was a great idea to form a chapter in Northern Virginia. So we got together, and there was a lot of planning involved. And eventually, in 1976, the charter was approved. And we had some charter members that actually didn't even live in the area. In fact, Mayor Thomas Bradley of Los Angeles was one of our charter members as well. So we were about maybe 35 or 40 people at the time, and we brought the chapter together, and then we started to do some things community-wise. One of our great early events was the Northern Virginia Special Olympics for handicapped people, and that was one of our outreach efforts that we had at the time. And then it just started to grow, and I don't think we ever thought that we would eventually be one of the largest chapters in the fraternity, and having received a lot of awards, Chapter of the Year and other awards. And we've got to have a number of very distinguished persons associated with our chapter. And we're very proud of it. And then one of the things that we're really happy about is that we wanted to have this facility. And so now we are in our own facility, hopefully with the idea of being able to purchase it in the near future. I can remember several years ago, we were in a meeting at some place that you had to rent. And this was, we had just elected officers, and the time ran out that you could stay in there. And I was very upset about that. I said, we should not ever be in a position where we have to leave a venue because our time has run out. And now the time has come for us to do something about this. And so now we have this facility, and one day we hope that will be paid for, and we'll own it.
Okay. So we've learned that you've been a trailblazer for civil rights integration, for human rights, for the Foreign Service, and also a charter member of one of the, as you said, larger chapters, and you've seen that grow as we've seen Kappa Alpha Psi grow. So this 100th year of the celebration of Kappa Alpha Psi, thank you again for sharing your thoughts on Golden.
I'd like to share one more thought with you. I don't want to let this get by.
Please.
I want to say something about Tall Chapter. Tall Chapter barely exists right now. The last time homecoming, it was like only one Kappa down there. The school is almost white now. And so several years ago, myself and several other brothers got together and said, we need to put something on this campus so that they will always know that there was a Kappa Alpha Psi on this campus, Tall Chapter. And so we put our heads together and came up with the idea of putting a monument, a Kappa monument on that campus. It took us 3 years to get it approved and to draw plans. One of our brothers was an architect, and he helped and draw up the plans for it. So today, on the campus of West Virginia State University, there's a TAR chapter monument that bears the name of virtually every Kappa that was initiated at TAR from 1923 up to 2009. So we are very, very proud of that. That's I feel one of my proudest accomplishments in Kappa Alpha Psi, along with the other brothers, in putting that monument on the campus. And right now, it is the only monument of its kind that is on that campus. But we wanted it to be ecumenical so that there would be a Greek plaza, so the other sororities and fraternities could have something also. But right now, ours and there's a small AKA monument are the only ones there. So we're very happy about that.
As always, still leading the way.
Trying to do that.
All right, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bless you. All right. I don't know if I talked too much or not.